Hello my friends, welcome back to my 4-Star School YouTube channel, and in this lesson I'm going to talk more detail about this AppBar and also the SliverAppBar. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. And you'll see I have listed out all the topics I'm going to cover in this video, and we will try different attribute which is inside this AppBar, and also I'll give you example and when to use this AppBar and when to use this SliverAppBar. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. The AppBar was default provided by Flutter team, and which include in the material.dart file. So back to our Visual Studio Code and open our Android emulator. Here I already connected with my emulator and Visual Studio Code, and as you can see here, we have only list out this text widget, which have this AppBar text and in the center of our screen. So in here I'm going to trying to use the default AppBar provided by the Flutter team. Inside this scaffold widget, we have AppBar attribute. So when you move your mouse, you will see this AppBar attribute actually will take this preferred size widget, and we can use our default AppBar widget, which provided by this material.dart. And when you move your mouse, and when you hit Control in Windows, or if you in Mac OS, you hit Command and you left click it, and you will see this AppBar actually implements this preferred size widget, so we can use in here because this one is the subclass of the preferred size widget, right? And inside this AppBar, we can see we have so many attributes. So by default, this is over structure of our AppBar. We have this leading and title and also actions. So below it, we have this flexible space, and also we can specify what is inside this button. We can use like a tab bar inside this button, but don't worry, I will talk about that in the later video. So here for the leading part, we usually will pass this icon or icon button. Inside this icon, we will take this icon data as a parameter. So I'm going to use this concrete class, which is this icons class. So I'm going to give you an example. So here first I'm going to implement this leading attribute. Leading attribute will accept like any kind of widget, right? Any kind of widget. So I'm going to use our icon widget. In here, when I move my mouse, you see I need to pass this icon data, right? So icon data, I can use these icons, this class, and so by default, it implement different kind of icon we can use. For here, I'm going to random choose. I think I can just choose settings. Yeah, it have settings, right? So when I save it, and you will see we have this AppBar and we have this setting in the leading part, right? This setting icon. But this icon is no clickable, right? Because we just use the icon widget. So in order to make it clickable, we can change this to like icon button, right? So icon button default also took two parameter actually. So the first one is this on press, and the second one is this icon. So icon is also we can pass this widget. So we can pass the icon. Here I can specify the icon, and I can pass icon again, right? And inside this I will use icons, and I use settings, right? And next I'm going to implement this on press method. So I just leave for empty now, and I save, and you see now this icon is clickable. So when you press this icon button, you will see this hover effect. I'm not sure if you still remember. So from last lesson, we learned the navigation. So the start of a route, if it's not empty, so by default, the AppBar will underneath implement this leading, and we'll have this navigation arrow button for you to go back to the previous page. Actually, I'm going to implement a button, so you will navigate us to the second page, and you will see what I mean for this. So I'm going to create another button, and inside this button, we're going to implement the onPressed function, and also its trial. For the trial, I'm going to adjust the text and going to next page, right? So inside this button, I'm going to use a navigator, and I'm going to push to the second page, right? So we need to implement another page actually. So here I create another widget, which is our second page. It's a stateless widget. Call it second page. Okay, I don't need this constructor for now. And here I'm going to return the scaffold because it's another page, right? And the body attribute, and we're going to return the center widget. And inside the center, we implement this child attribute, and we're going to return this text in the second page, right? So in here, we're going to use this context. I am going to return our second page. But actually, we forgot something. I think we forgot the material page route. Going to use this one, and inside this one, we're going to implement the part. So I'm going to save it. Alright, so here we have our button to go to the next page, and I'm going to center it. So we have this button to go to the next page, right? Oh, we forgot to implement the AppBar in our next page. AppBar, so I just use default AppBar. I didn't implement any attribute inside this AppBar. So what I mean for these sentences, when I navigate to the second page, by default I have this AppBar, right? I didn't specify any leading part, so it will underneath automatically implement for us. So let's see when I click this button. Okay, I forgot I need to make this another class, right? So I'm going to extract the widget and make a first page. So I save. So and I save in this one. In this way, we can navigate to our second page. All right. So I don't think I need this constructor for now. So I just save. And so when I click this to next page, it will navigate us to the second page, right? And by default, it didn't specify anything inside this AppBar. So it will implement this back button for us to navigate back to our previous route, right? So I can click it and we can go back to our first page. So, and you can also specify you don't want the Flutter to implement this underneath for you, so you just set it to false, right? So you set these to false, and inside the second page, AppBar, so you set these automatically implement leading, you set to false. So when you save, and you can click this button again. So when you to next page, you will see we don't have this go back arrow again. Right? So you can specify if you want the Flutter to implement this leading automatic for you. Okay, so also another takeaway point is if you specify this drawer. So by default, Flutter will also implement the leading for you, but has a menu icon on the leading. Yeah, don't worry, we'll talk this drawer in the next video. And also we can specify the leading way, right? We have this attribute called leading way. And back to Visual Studio Code, and in our first page, the AppBar, we have this leading way. By default it's 56, and you can also make it much wider. So you, for example, make it 100. So you will start from here to here, right? So it's hard to see because we're using this icon. Maybe I can replace this icon with our container, and I will give the container some color so you can see much clearly. And I'll give the red color. So I save. You'll see our leading part will took 100 space. So if I comment now, you see our leading only took 56. Right. So next is this title attribute. So this title attribute, we can specify the title in our AppBar. So let's back to Visual Studio Code, and in the title, so when we specify this title attribute, when you move your mouse, you see this title attribute actually receive a widget. So you can make any kind of widget inside here. So here I'm going to use the text widget. So you can see this is our first page, right? So I save it. By default, it will know center, right? There, it will align from the left. So how you're going to center it? You're using another attribute called center title, and you set to true. So then you will center, right? And next, I think is our action part. So action actually took a list of widgets, right? You can specify many icons in your actions. So for example, and in here, and we have this action attribute, right? Inside this action attribute, we can specify different icons. So I'm going to implement different icons. I think like setting versus setting icons, so icons settings, and next I'm going to implement another icon. I call it icons.more. Okay, so I save. You'll see we have two icons on the left side. Also, I think we can set the background color for our AppBar. So back to Visual Studio Code. So for those actions, you can also give some padding or some margin, and also set the gap between those icons. So for example, I can put a size box between those two, right? I give it some kind of size box, and I give the weight probably 5, and I would adding some space between those two icons. You'll see you actually increase the space. Maybe I give them more so you can see clear, right? And you can also wrap this icon with like a padding widget, so you can move this icon a little bit left, right? And also we can set custom this AppBar. We can set its background color, and we can set to yellow. For example, I set to yellow. Right, so when I save, you will see this background color turn to yellow. And also we can set its elevation. So it means I don't want this shadow. So when I set this elevation to 0, the shadow will be removed. Also, I can increase the shadow. So when I set to 10, the shadow will be have more shadow than before. Okay, next is this toolbar height. So we can set the how much height we want for our toolbar. So the default is 56, right? So we can say 100, and we save. So it's much more longer. and we can also set its capacity. So, and probably I set to 0.5 and I save it. The text will be hard to see, right? Because we change its capacity. Okay, I think you now got more understanding for those toolbar and how you can customize it. And I'm going to comment out this one. And next, I'm going to talk this SliverAppBar. Okay, let's back to Visual Studio Code. And here I borrow the code from a Flutter official document talking about this SliverAppBar. And here I will give you a quick explanation what this code does. So first we define our myStable widget. So inside this stable widget, we need to keep track of all those three attributes: pinned and snap and floating. So those three is very important when we trying to use this SliverAppBar. Next, we build this custom scroll view, because if you want to use your SliverAppBar, you need to inside this custom scroll view, right? Because it should inside this slivers attribute. So we have this sliver bar, and also we have this sliver list, which we will see is this display here. And for the bottom navigation, so we have these three items. So when you turn on, you will set these attribute to true, right? When you turn off, you will set this attribute to false. So we're going to test what those three attributes will affect our SliverAppBar. Okay, so the first attribute is this pin, right? The pin means, so when I scroll down, so I'm going to scroll down, right? These sliver will stick on the top, and you will display our AppBar, this title. And when I scroll up, you see it didn't show a logo, Flutter logo. So when I actually scroll to the 0, the logo will show. So you see when I scroll to 0, and you see this time when I reach to the end, the top end, the logo like will showing up. See, so this is when we set this pin to true, and we set those to false. Right, you see when I scroll to top, only to the top, this logo will show. So here I'm going to turn this to false, and I set this floating to true. And I'm going to scroll down, so they all have the same effect when scroll down. The difference is when I scroll up. So when I scroll up, you see when I'm trying to scroll up, this logo will showing. You see. So for this pinned, only when I scroll to the top one, which is a 0, so the logo will show. But for these floating, so when I start to scroll up, this AppBar is showing, right? And when I scroll down, this AppBar will not going to stick on the top. So when I scroll up, you see this logo, even I didn't reach to the top one. So if I also open this, so when I scroll down, this AppBar will sticky on the top, you see. And when I scroll up, this logo will show. So we don't need to wait until we hit the end, right? So usually we'll combine those two together, and we will scroll down. You have this AppBar stick on the top. When we're trying to scroll up, we can see our logo. So what is this snappy, right? Snappy, you see this comment. When I'm trying to use snappy only applies when this AppBar is floating. So you need to combine the snap and the floating together. So I'm going to make this pen to false, and I open this snap to true, right? So when I open this snap to true, so when I scroll up, this logo will show entirely. You notice. So I scroll down, and when I trying to scroll up a little bit, this entire logo will show up. Yeah, this is what the difference is between those three. I hope you got understanding of what's differences between those three attributes. And for the rest attribute, for example, this expanded height means how much height we can set for this AppBar, and also for this flexible space means we can change its background image. For example, in the code here, so the expanded height I set to 160, right? I can change it even more. I can set to 200, so you save, it will be higher than before, you see. And also this is our this AppBar. We can set this title, and we can change this title inside this flexible space. So when you scroll up, you will stick on the top when this set to true, right? So I set to true. So when I scroll up, you will stick on the top. And if you still feel this is hard to understand, I also will post this documentation in the description below, so you can watch this quick introduction video talking about SliverAppBar, and also you can check this documentation and check this animated example. Okay, so I think that's all for today's lesson, and I will continue uploading a video for Flutter tutorial. So I hope you can subscribe to my channel, please, and also thumbs up my video, and I will see you in next video. Thanks for watching.